Time now for another wonderful tale from the one and only Eddie Lenihan, which means it is time for Seanchaí Corner. Seanchaí Corner sees Eddie, of course the renowned author, storyteller, lecturer and broadcaster, regaling us with a memorable story from his extensive collection of old Irish tales and fables. And this week, Eddie tells us the strange tale of a meeting at hAbha.
It was always said that boundaries were a dangerous place. For example, Latoon, where the bush is, the boundary there, between the Connacht fairies and the Munster fairies and their mighty hurling games. There's another place between Clare and Galway. It's above at hAbha. And Biddy Early used to always say to people, be past that place before the fall of night. Now, we all know that Biddy Early was no fool. Biddy Early knew things, knew places, and knew people. And she would always warn people about hAbha, be past that place. And it has been proved, things have happened there that, even up to fairly recently, that defy some explanation. In the times when the woods were being cut down after the landlords were gone, and sometimes before they were gone, because remember, a lot of the landlords were broke, and one of their big assets was their fine trees. There was a man cutting down beech trees, and friends of his, of course, and neighbours of his, they were cutting down for Lord Gough there at the Grand Gate between Crusheen and Gort. They were cutting down some of those trees and cutting up some of the ones that had been knocked by storms. And where they were drawing them to, in carts, horse carts that time, of course, was Clarecastle Quay. Clarecastle was a busy place that time, a busy little port, and that carried them out of there and on to Limerick. Now, this particular man, he was carting away this particular time, and he'd go in there to that wood early in the morning, maybe before dawn sometime, and he'd be chopping and sawing with a friend of his, caused that time to be a crosscut, and a good worker. But this morning anyway, when he had finished the cart, he was leading the horse on. Now, he'd be leading the horse, not riding on the heap, but leading on the horse, and he came to hAbha, and all of a sudden, the horse stopped. Now, in those days, all of those carters that carry a whip, and it was a special kind of a whip, it had a leather strap attached to it, and the strap was attached to the whip by horse nails. And he got behind the cart, as we say, and he had a look what was holding the horse, because he couldn't move the horse. The horse seemed to be stuck to the road and not moving. And what did he see under the car at the back, except this huge black dog, massive hound, and the dog having a hold of the axle by its teeth. And your man, merciful God Almighty, help us and save us. What? And the dog now, he had his two legs, his front paws stuck into the road, and he pulling back the cart. Now, how could that be? A cart full of heavy timber, huh? And he pulling it back. Well, what your man did, of course, was he gave one prod with his whip, one prod to the dog, and the dog let go of the cart and turned on him. And of course he tried to defend himself. And this dog, let's be as big as a small pony, but he defended himself as best he could, and once the whip touched the dog, he disappeared. But what was there instead of him? Only a huge turkey cock, and it spread out its tail and like that. And the old man was even more frightened. Merciful God, a different man had run. A different man would run, but he wasn't going to let his heap of timber that he was after putting all that sweat into go like that. He like that again, jabbed and jabbed and jabbed at the turkey thing, or whatever it was. And the thing hissing at him. But eventually, whatever touch he gave to its beak disappeared. And there in its place was a pig, an old boar, a boar, and two teeth sticking up out of it, and trying to eat him. And of course he did the same thing again, trying to defend himself. And by the Lord, he hit him in the snout. Gone. And of course the old man nearly collapsed on the road with the terror and the sweat rolling off of him. And the horse moved. The horse moved forward. The old man, he grabbed onto the cart and he pulled himself up, a thing he normally didn't do, and stretched himself out above on the timber, and his whip hanging onto his wrist. On he went. On the horse went, I should say. There was no more out of him. And he arrived below Clare Castle. The horse knew its way because he had travelled so often that way. But when he arrived below, they were all looking at him. What in the name of God happened to you? When he arrived below the quay, he could hardly tell them, but eventually he explained what had happened to him above at Bunnahow. They unloaded his load for him because he couldn't do it himself. They unloaded his load, and the men on the boat, they helped. And finally, they took him into Powers, and they bought a couple of glasses of whisky for him. He was shivering and shaking, yet he could hardly stand. And he explained what had happened. Now, they said to him, look, a couple of us will go home with you because you're in no condition to take that horse or yourself home. And they did. They landed him home. They were good men. They used to always look out for each other and travel together. And they brought him home. And they delivered him there to his wife. And of course, the poor woman, worried out of her mind, she put him into the bed. And she sent for the priest. Maybe she hadn't the money for the doctor, but she sent for the priest. And the priest blessed him and he explained to the priest what had happened. Oh, Lord, said the priest, you are the lucky man. You are the lucky man that you had your whip. Because, he said, 'twas the horse nails that saved you. That was no dog, or that was no turkey, or that was no pig. That was the devil himself. And 'twas them horse nails that saved you. The horse nails are the thing. Pure steel. You're a lucky man to be alive. But it wasn't quite over, because that man took to the bed a short time afterwards. And he didn't get out of it for 3 months. Shaking, shivering, a fever. And when he did get out of it, he only lived about a year after. He never made another trip from the Grand Gate down with any timber. Never visited Clare Castle Quay again. Never. Whatever that was there, maybe the priest was right, maybe it was the devil. But that is a bad place. Bunnahow was never a right place. And like I said at the start, Biddy Early used to warn people, be past there at night.
And thanks to Eddie for bringing us the tale of a meeting at Bunnahow on Friday's Morning Focus.